turn off the lights, grab your popcorn, slam that tape into the machine, because tonight on RetroWatch, it's 1986's Short Circuit. All right, I picked this one this week because, dude, everybody loved robots in the 80s. Every kid wanted Number Johnny 5 in the 80s, so we had to talk about Short Circuit on RetroWatch. Like, dude, who didn't want one of these things for Christmas, like when you were growing up? It was the coolest thing ever, and it came at us at a time way before CGI was remotely a thing. So they built this practical robot and ran it with 73 puppeteers and radio controls and everything else, whatever they did, and it was so cool. It was the coolest thing in the world to see when you're like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. Dude, tell me you don't love Number Johnny 5.
Oh, everyone loved Johnny 5, but he wasn't Johnny 5 in this one. He was just Number 5.
I know. He does pick the name Johnny at the end, right before they cut the credits to drive away. Classic 80s mountain road driving away into the sunrise. Yeah. So what did you think of this when you were a kid? Let's go back in the Wayback Machine.
This was the movie I watched. So we watched a lot of movies in like 1986. I want to say I was living in Germany at the time. So we didn't have TV where we were, at least not American speaking TV. So we would have people send us videotapes of movies and TV shows recorded, and then we would watch it. They would be on VHS tapes, and I mean they ran from anywhere from an hour to like 6 hours on long play. So this was one of the movies we watched over and over again, especially when we rented it. Like that's how I saw Back to the Future the first time, same way. So this was a movie we watched over and over again. And I was there watching this just recently to get ready for this, and parts of it I still remember. Some of it I didn't because I was so young, and I like the part I'd noticed. And this one was how Ben messed up every idiom.
Oh, I am sick of wearing the dress in his family.
I always thought he was just. I thought he was actually the smart one trying to keep Guttenberg on task. And now that I've actually listened to it, I'm like, oh, he's just a funny guy.
And a bit of a perv.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I am sporting a tremendous wood here.
And a bit of a perv. This was an 80s comedy in like the best way that reminds me of like Shrek. Not that even Shrek is like new anymore now, but it's like the kids can watch the robots and do goofy stuff. But if a grown-up's watching in the room, like they're catching innuendos like every fourth line, usually from the Ben character, who, like you said, just I don't think they gave him a straight line of dialogue except for the part in the truck where he was like, I don't know about you, but I'm planning on screaming and running. That's the only straight line he had. Everything else was, like you said, hilariously wrong.
Yeah.
But that was the vibe of the movie, dude. It's clean for all the audiences it needs to be clean for, and then not clean for everybody that's over the age of like 12. So I mean, I think a lot of that, I think that accounts for a lot of its charm. You know what I mean?
But I mean, it's definitely quotable with Number 5's alive and no disassemble.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ones, I was debating, I'm putting it as my tagline here, but I had to go with input Stephanie.
Need input, yeah. That's a good one.
But it
Number 5 is alive.
Hey, Lazy Lips, your mother was a snowblower.
That's a good one. So for you guys that haven't seen Short Circuit, the briefest of synopses here, because again, this movie is great because of the effectiveness of its simplicity. It's a company that does robotics on a defense company called Nova, builds 5 prototype robotic soldiers, we'll call them, because they're multi-purpose, but the government's definitely into them for weapons. They are mounted with, as one of the generals says, we can mount them with a 25 megaton bomb and roll them right down Main Street, Moscow, and boom, there you go. But a freak lightning strike does the Frankenstein thing and activates consciousness in Number 5. It doesn't impact any of the other ones because he's the only one plugged into the generator that gets hit, or the transformer that gets hit. And then the movie becomes his quest for self-preservation, really, because the lab wants him back to disassemble him to figure out how he arrived at this conclusion. Nobody believes that he's sentient at first except Stephanie, played wonderfully by Sheedy. And there you go. It's really the story in an hour and 38 minutes of like this robot trying not to be taken apart. And that's it. Like that's the whole movie. It's simple, and I love it.
It wasn't. Sure. They didn't care like why his brain was fried or anything like that. But
Nova's motivation was that. But Guttenberg and Ben wanted him back because they were at least intellectually curious to see how sentience emerged in something that they built and programmed. Like they struggled with the understanding that it could evolve past their design.
Yeah,
which was one of the coolest parts. Is for a movie like this that is so simple on the surface, it does give you a little bit of meat to sink your teeth into about the nature of consciousness. That
no wonder you're malfunctioning.
Switches are my switches. Life, not malfunction. Not malfunction. I am alive.
Nature of sentience, the nature of, can you be, if you're self-aware, does that mean other things can compel you against your will to do things or to not do things?
Yeah.
Without being preachy. Being preachy.
And with the boom of AI, it started to bring this came out before AI was even considered. And with the boom of AI, this movie's very relevant now because of it's your AI is learning off of what you're typing into it and what the research it has to do.
It's timely that we got to this one given the recent and rapid rise of AI. Fortunately, Johnny 5 or number 5 in this one, as you pointed out, well, not as creepy, I don't think, as the prevalence of AI in 2025. This is a robot that gains consciousness and then goes through the movie with kind of the intellectual curiosity that a child might have, which is kind of nutty because as Stephanie points out, well, he's only 4 days old, which was a great line in there.
Which I think it plays great into, because I don't think he actually gained consciousness. I think it erased his programming and his natural to survive, because they're supposed to be military robots, and if something happened to them, they have to be able to adapt and overcome. So it erased its programming, so now it's trying to learn, so it needs the input so it can learn, and no one understood this because they created something they didn't understand. And then as it learned, it became more aware of its surroundings and itself than it did with its initial programming. Like it expanded upon its initial programming. And then as it learned, it became more aware of its surroundings and itself than it did with its initial programming. Like it expanded upon its initial programming.
That's an interesting take. I didn't see it that way. I typically take it the more metaphysical way, especially how the movie wraps up in the end, where they get Guttenberg on board. Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy in this movie are fantastic, and we'll talk about them in performing against a machine, and how they did that in a second. But I think that the end of the movie leans more into the spiritual or the existential side of things, rather, because after they get Guttenberg on board with at least acknowledging the possibility that the machine has come alive, right? The method of getting him on board was Guttenberg tells him a joke, and the machine considers it and then laughs, right?
Spontaneous
emotional response. And it's one of the best 80s endings ever was that moment there. And I remember that joke, or whatever God wants, he keeps. I was going to use that as my little byline at the bottom, but it would have been too small, I think. And he said, it's not even a good joke. And I'm like, it's not, but it worked. Yeah. He's alive. It was some good stuff. I did like that. And I like that there. I like watching the machine learn and tell people, where Guttenberg at one point is telling him, you're a machine, you're programmed for war to kill this and that. And number 5 is like, no. And then Guttenberg's like, well, no, who told you not to kill? I told me.
Yep.
Like he's, like you said, he evolved beyond what his war making program was, to be whatever he wanted to be, which was to not do that.
And it was mostly hit him when he was jumping with the grasshopper, and then he squished the grasshopper. That was the point where he learned what he was actually doing and what he was actually programmed to do.
Dude, that scene hit me like a truck as a kid, because it's like you said, it's painted in crayons for the youngest person watching the movie to understand the concept.
I know you don't understand, but when you're dead, you're dead. It's just the way it is.
Grasshopper, or whatever he says, crushed, dead. Disassembled. Dead. Disassemble. No, like he puts all these things together in real time because Stephanie's told him they're gonna come back, flip some switches, mess around with the gears, figure you out.
And she says the word disassemble you and figure out what's wrong.
Right. And then he accidentally smushes a grasshopper while he's trying to copy it, or a butterfly or whatever. It was a butterfly, right?
No, it was a grasshopper. And the butterfly was at the beginning when he wasn't talking yet.
And he did the eyebrow thing, which was kind of cool. So yeah, no, he's got the curiosity of a kid, and he evolves as such. And I love the fact that he has emotions too. Like when he's pissed, he gets the red eye. And the red eye is scary when the thing's got a laser on its shoulder, Predator style. You know what I mean? Like that's, you don't want to fuck around with that.
And I mean, his eyebrows,
aiming.
you brought up his eyebrows. His eyebrows are probably the most expressive eyebrows anywhere in Hollywood, ever.
Outside of a cartoon. Yep. 100%. 100%. But I think this is a great time to talk about just having the machine, building the machine. The one thing I said to you, like immediately on the rewatch, is I'm astonished how convincing, particularly Ali Sheedy as Stephanie is in interacting with the machine. She's super expressive. It's like she's talking to a person, right? And not just because that's obviously the direction. That's the point of the story, is she just accepts that this machine, has.
She first thinks it's an alien,
right? Right. But even after,
the machine to the next day.
Right, but even then, like when she talks to it, she gets frustrated with it. They have a little dance number together. There's tension as they try to escape. She's always talking to it, and I never got the impression that she thought she was interacting with an inanimate object.
No, she always treated it as it was alive.
Right. Guttenberg was a little different, where he starts with the whole, well, I built it. It's clearly a machine, like when they're having the talk at the bar. He's like, I built him from scratch. Nobody knows more about me, whatever he says. And then she's like, here's the thing. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. Gives him a little Jeff Goldblum, life finds a way kind of moment, 10 years ahead of Goldblum. But Guttenberg, too, when he's interacting with number 5 in the mountains near the end, same thing. Like he gets excited as he realizes the miracle that happened, And my rambling point, and I apologize because you and I talked about this before, is that in modern days now, because we have unlimited power almost with computer generated images, shots on volume, green screen, whatever you want, whatever tech we're using. You need Naboo, bam, you got Naboo. You need the Bridge of the Enterprise, bam, you got the Enterprise. Not that the guys on Lord of the Rings did it, but boom, you need Helm's Deep, here's Helm's Deep. You just do what you want. And then you got a bunch of actors that are just in a room looking at like tennis balls on like tripods and be like, okay, well that's the leader orc right there. Get angry at it. And even guys with banger like acting talent like Ian McClellan struggle with that. And they're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Who's here? I'm the only person on the fucking set. I can't do this. They talk to this machine for an hour and 38 minutes like it's real. Yeah. Because it is real. It is there. And I don't know if they added its voice later, but I'm sure they had somebody voicing its lines in real time. That way they could bounce it back and forth. So, I mean, it just makes for something that feels tangibly authentic.
It was the way they did everything was fantastic too, because I mean it wasn't CGI. They didn't really have CGI back then. It was practical effects. It was robots that they built and moved around with remote controls. I even think the people that they were when they did the demonstration were the actual controllers of it.
I believe it.
And actually
behind the camera.
Yeah. Didn't do things. As you know, they were in front of the camera doing it, but it was like
but I meant like when they weren't actually in the scene, it was them that were actually
behind the cameras doing it. Yeah,
I got you.
Which is, I mean, that's lacking in a lot of today's stuff. They rely so much on computer generated stuff, and with today's TV and sharper images, you can actually pick out. Like if the first time I watched a 4K TV, it was like the second Transformers, and it looked so fake.
Yep, because it's over polished, it's over complicated. There's a trillion little moving gears that I know aren't real. I know this robot's real, and not only because when I was a kid, my parents took us to the Museum of Science in Boston, and there was an exhibit there. So I've touched this thing. It was awesome, awesome, right? And like, we can't do that. I don't care how good of an actor you are. Like the best among us can only just barely pull it off in just having somebody in a green screen that might be wearing, I don't know, like a hat to indicate that it's the villain or some stupid shit, or like have some weird mocap shit on its face to indicate that it's like the antagonist. Like it's completely different. Movies, it doesn't have that same, I think the word people use a lot is weight. Like there's no weight with CG, like a Naboo starfighter is bullshit, but you intrinsically believe that an X-Wing is real. Yeah, because you've seen the model.
And they built the models, and they did the small cams, the button cams to pull it out and push it in.
The cockpit was life size, and they stuck somebody in it, and then it was on hydraulics to give it elevation and dip and turbulence and everything. So I mean it all makes for a whole different movie viewing experience. For sure.
I believe that if a lot of movies went back to a mixture of the two, where they use the CGI to enhance the practical effects, then the movie's look would be a lot better.
100%. Dude, so what stood out for you that worked most and what worked least about this movie? Because this is like 40 years old now. This is a retro.
It's a cute movie. It's family friendly, so I think this is a movie you could watch with your family. Show the kids are gonna love the robot. The dialogue and some of the situations are a little bit different now than they would be then. Like the ex-boyfriend type feel, and how she kind of put him through with her money, and then like she's still the damsel in distress type thing with him, because you know he's abusive, but the stuff he was doing was kind of commonplace for the dudes that people try to avoid, but most of the hot girls went, but most of the girls actually fell for it, because everyone wants the bad boy. They had the nosy neighbor, which was great. The house phones. It's a great movie. It takes you back to a time in a life that was more simple, and I highly recommend the movie.
Anything that didn't work for you?
I think some of the dialogue and references were just a little dated, but that's because it's a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Dude, I agree with everything you said about the family-friendly part. If I think getting a kid to watch a movie from the 80s is tough because it does look dated, and it's just the colors are different than what they're used to with everything CGI and animated now, so it is a little different. But if you can get your 6 to 10-year-old to sit down and watch it, I think you definitely enjoy it with your kid, or if you just haven't seen this on your own, you can go check it out. What didn't work for me is the same stuff that doesn't work for me in a lot of old stuff. I just noticed things now about how military and security things are shot. These guys had crap trigger discipline. Some of the tactics were just a little, which isn't important in a movie like this, but I notice these things now. It's like everything looks like the A-Team. Like all these dudes are shooting. They can't hit number 5 except in a couple of key spots, and then the helicopter runs them into the ground, which was nasty and had me bawling like a baby when I was 8. That was rough at the end there. And then the same with the robot. Like it's a robot. It's never gonna miss a laser shot, and it missed every shot it fired except for the one at like the branch that it used to like cover its escape when they were driving away. It's very A-Team. It shoots all around the bad guys. Like even at the beginning in the demo, like it's shooting like tire trucks, and you're getting real explosions, which is cool. You're getting vehicles to explode and flip over and
shooting their tires,
right? Which I'm like, no, I don't get it. Oh, like it's shooting a boat, like a speedboat, and it's exploding twice from 2 different impact points. I'm like, wooden boat wouldn't do that. Just crap like that. But it's because in the 80s we actually just blew shit up.
Yeah,
like that was it. They said a charge here, and they're like, all right, click, click, boom, bam, and that was it. That was your boat exploding. So I mean, it's tonally, it's very 80s for that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of the sci-fi stuff is there. Like it's legit sci-fi light for young minds. Like you talk about, well, dude, what if we built a machine and because whatever fluke happened, it didn't want to do what we told it had to do anymore? Like, what if we built a robot? If we built a sentient tank, and it was like, nah, I'm just gonna read and paint now. I'm good. I'm not actually gonna blow shit up. Like, what do you do? Like, it has will. Like it's basically a child. Like you can program it, control it, you can guide it, you can mold it, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's an agent of free will. What can you do? Yeah. There's enough there. It's not like a deep dive. It's not like reading Asimov or anything. It's not iRobot. No. But it's enough there to wrap a little mind around, which I think, and that's why I think what got guys like us. It's why we like sci-fi. It's why we like Star Wars and Trek. Because of gateway movies like this that are easy to watch and nobody gets hurt really.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth it. That's I think this was a good pick for RetroWatch, dude. Anything else you want to say about Short Circuit before we go?
It does have a sequel. The sequel does not have the Guttenberg in it. It does have Ben. So Fisher Stevens is in the sequel. And this is where he's come back as Johnny 5, and he has a certain new accessory that's not a laser. So go ahead and check out the sequel while you're at it.
All right, I think that'll wrap us up on RetroWatch. I've been Winterwolf, he's been King Z, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
So play the music.